And I'm Alan Martin. It was a free giveaway for backyard gardeners. The city called it organic compost and had been giving it away for years. Activists gave it back, dumping it on the steps of City Hall. They said it was sludge loaded with toxins. Simon Perez tells us now they say they have the scientific evidence to prove it.
The public needs to know that it's not safe to grow food on that toxic sludge, no matter what it's called.
After complaints like that and protests last spring, the San Francisco Public Utilities Commission quit giving away free compost it made from sewage, human waste.
Who wants to take toxic sewage sludge and put it on their farm or garden?
The moratorium gave the commission time to conduct a study to see just what was in the compost material. It found plenty of contaminants such as arsenic, lead, and mercury, but all at levels below what the Environmental Protection Agency says is harmful. In fact, the PUC compost was no different from compost you could buy at just about any hardware store. However, the Food Rights Network did its own study and
that has found that the sludge product that the PUC has given away free to Bay Area home and school gardens is contaminated
with flame retardants, detergent compounds, and antibacterial elements.
The presence of something doesn't necessarily indicate a public health hazard.
But San Francisco operates under the precautionary principle, a law which says lack of full scientific certainty about cause and effect shall not be viewed as sufficient reason for the city to postpone cost-effective measures to protect the health of its citizens. In other words, the science doesn't have to prove the chemical is dangerous before the city bans it. It just has to show the chemical could be dangerous. And in fact, studies going back to the 1990s raise health concerns, if not conclusions, about all three chemical compounds found in the Food Rights Network study.
If we thought that there was a direct public health risk for this biosolids compost, we would absolutely stop the giveaway.
But you're held to a standard that says potential public health risk, not direct. You're not meeting the standard.
And I think potential, again, is one of those keywords. You can say anything is a potential health risk.
Because San Francisco did not test for that hazardous material, it implies that San Francisco PUC is engaged in a cover-up not to tell the public the full nature of the toxics that they were giving away to the public for growing food in their organic gardens.
The precautionary principle goes further, saying the community has a right to know complete and accurate information on potential human health and environmental impacts. The burden to supply this information lies with the proponent, not with the general public. The precautionary principle says that the burden to supply this information lies with you, not with the general public. Why didn't you test for these things if there are studies out there that say they're potentially dangerous?
I think we can definitely look at that moving forward and see, again, our intent isn't to hide anything.
So why didn't you test for it? I mean, it was easy for me to do a Google search for all these things and find studies that says, even from the Washington Post just recently, there are valid concerns about the health effects.
And if you say, why didn't we test for this, and we test for these three items, they come back and say, well, why didn't you test for this other pollutant? I mean, where do you draw the line? So at some point, we based it on a standard, which was the 127 different pollutants that were identified by the EPA when they did their major matrix and analysis.
I don't think that's good enough for San Francisco. That certainly flunks the precautionary principle.
So for now, the PUC is not giving away what it calls biosolids compost and what the critics call toxic sludge, and it will study the issue further. The interesting thing is how the precautionary principle applies. Kaufman at the EPA says it applies in this way. Any chemical is guilty until proven innocent, so you don't wait for somebody else to complain about it. But the PUC says that these open discussions show that the system works. It just depends on how do you apply that principle. Who's supposed to find out?
It's been 3 years, though.
Right. It's in the ground. People have used it.
People have used it already. So we'll see what happens if they decide it's not healthy.
A lot of liability here.
Yeah.
All right, Simon.